Hello, and welcome to The Remains of the Day, starring Anthony Hopkins, Emma Thompson, by James Ivory. I think all Oscar winners, if I'm not mistaken. Even the writers. Kazuo Ishiguro is an Oscar nominee because he was nominated last year for Living. It's also with Christopher Reeve, who is one of my childhood heroes because of Superman. This is from 1993. So about 2 years later, he had that accident with the horse. So this could be his last role, but I'm not sure. Let me take a look. Okay, it's actually not. He has quite some roles that time. But yeah, okay. It's drama romance. And what I know about this film is that Anthony Hopkins plays a butler. And that's pretty much it. Something about war, World War II. It's set in the times which leads up to World War II, I think. And I have very high hopes for this film because it's nominated for 8 Oscars. And a lot of Oscar winners are involved in the making of this film. But even though it was nominated for 8 Oscars, it didn't win any. So this must be a very bad film. Having said that, I'm very excited. So I stopped talking now and I would say, let's rock. Mike Nichols, producer. Huh. Mike Nichols, the guy who directed The Graduate. Anthony Hopkins and Emma Thompson. Oh yeah, and Emma Thompson would be then the love interest. James Fox. James Fox is the brother of Edward Fox, who played the Jackal in The Day of the Jackal. Michael Lonsdale. Okay. He was also in The Day of the Jackal. And Ronin, which is on my list. Eamon Targaryen.
How do you do?
My lord.
Very good man here, your son. He does the house great service.
Okay, so this is his father. Interesting. And he's also a butler. It was all in the family.
I wonder if you realize what it really takes to be a great butler.
That's dignity. It's what it takes.
Thank you, Mr. Stevens. Dignity, that's right. Dignity.
There was this English butler in India. One day, he goes in the dining room, and what's he see under the table? A tiger. Not turning a hair, he goes straight to the drawing room. I'm very sorry, my lord, there appears to be a tiger in the dining room. Perhaps his lordship will permit use of the 12 boars. They go on drinking their tea, and then the 3 gunshots. When the butler is back to refresh the teapots, he says, cool as a cucumber. Dinner will be served at the usual time, my lord. And I'm pleased to say there will be no discernible traces left of the recent occurrence by that time.
Wonderful story. That's the ideal, Charles, that we should all aim for. Dignity.
Interesting. What is she doing?
Your dustpan. You've left it on the landing.
I haven't been using a dustpan, miss.
Oh, really? Then it must have been somebody else.
What is she trying to do? I don't get it.
Mr. Stevens, it was your father who left the dustpan in the middle of the floor. It is he who is leaving polish on the cutlery. It is he who has confused the Chinaman.
Ah, okay. I get it now.
Whatever your father once was, he no longer has the same ability or strength.
Yeah, that's very problematic. As a butler, but it's his father. So that's a conflict.
Look here, Stevens. The first of the foreign delegates will be arriving here in less than a fortnight. Yes, it means a great deal. Yeah, and I may as well tell you, Stevens, it means a great deal to me, personally. I had a German friend. We fought on opposite sides in the war. We always said when this wretched business is over, we'll sit down and have a drink together, like gentlemen. The Versailles Treaty made a liar of me. because the terms that we, the victor, imposed were so harsh that Germany was simply finished. Well, one doesn't do that to a defeated foe. My friend Bremen was ruined by inflation. Couldn't get a job in post-war Germany. Killed himself. Well, ever since that time, I felt it my duty, my job, Stevens, to hold out a helping hand to Germany. Give her a fair chance. So you see, Stevens, this conference is crucial, and we really can't run the risk of any accidents. Look here, there's no question of your father leaving us. He was simply being asked to reconsider his duties.
Interesting. But he was kind of right about that, what he said about the... it was hard to get a job in Germany by that time. That's also one reason why it led to war, because Germany felt... how you call it? Unfairly handled, unfairly treated.
It has been suggested that you no longer wait at table.
I've waited at table every day for the last 54 years.
I have the feeling that his father, that he's worried that he loses his dignity. Now he can't do this chores he's used to be, and is told what he can do and what not. Very, very problematic. Considering his speech he gave about dignity, and now he's about to lose it. His highest standard, so to speak.
Father? Father?
Your father's not so good, I'm afraid. Thank you. If he deteriorates, call me, will you?
Yes, sir, thank you.
How old is he? 70, 72?
75, sir.
I see.
75 and still in service. That's something.
There's something I have to tell you.
I have so much to do, Father. Why don't we talk in the morning?
Jim, I fell out of love with your mother. I loved her once. But love went out of me. And I found her carrying on. A good son. Proud of you. I hope I've been a good father to you. Tried my best.
I have the feeling that he will die very soon, maybe until the next morning. Now that he said that about his mother.
Now, never touch the lip of the glass. Good.
Everything must be perfect.
The United States doesn't want war, any more than you do.
On the other hand, neither would we care for peace at any price, because some prices, you may find, are too outrageously high to pay.
Interesting. But what prices are too high to pay?
You are, all of you, amateurs. And international affairs should never be run by gentlemen amateurs. You need professionals to run your affairs, or you're headed for disaster.
Interesting. He's also the only one who has a different opinion than anyone else.
Mr. Stevens, I'm very sorry. Your father passed away 4 minutes ago.
Yeah, now he's dead.
Oh, I see.
Now he also has to deal with the death of his father.
You're right. Yes, I'm perfectly all right, thank you. Not feeling unwell. No, so a little tired, perhaps.
And that's also part of his job, to not let his personal feelings affect everyone else on the party. So he kind of stays in a role of a butler, despite his father died recently. But I mean, everyone would understand if he keeps away for a little, takes a little out time.
Was there a Lord Darlington, some sort of Nazi, got us in the war, they say?
He called him a Nazi? So I guess he's been misunderstood. He's just trying to keep the peace, from my understanding.
Good to see you. How do you do? Well, come in.
Okay, so I think now they talk politics, and that's interesting, because the American Lord said that they're amateurs, and politics should not be discussed by amateurs.
In my philosophy, Mr. Ben, a man cannot call himself well-contented until he has done all he can to be of service to his employer. Of course, this assumes that one's employer is a superior person, not only in rank or wealth, but in moral stature.
We have some refugee girls on the staff at the moment, I believe.
We do, my lord. 2 housemaids, Elsa and Emma.
You'll have to let them go, I'm afraid.
Let them go, my lord.
It's regrettable, Stevens, but we have no choice. You've got to see the whole thing in context. I have the well-being of my guests to consider.
Okay, I see.
May I say, they work extremely well. They're intelligent, polite, and very clean.
But they are Jews, right?
They're Jews.
That's why he was called a Nazi. All right.
You're saying that Elsa and Irma are to be dismissed because they're Jewish?
His lordship has made his decision.
And that's also interesting because the butler, Anthony Hopkins' character, said before that about the moral stages between him and his employer, and now this.
If those girls go, I shall leave this house.
Interesting.
I'm not leaving.
Oh?
I'm frightened of leaving, and that's the truth. That's all my high principles are worth, Mr. Stevens. I'm ashamed of myself.
Whoa.
Wasn't there a Lord Darlington involved in all that appeasement business that got us into the war?
Sorry, sir, I never knew that, Lord Darlington. My employer is an American gentleman, Mr. Lewis.
Oha. He's distancing himself.
He was lucky, really, not to have been tried for treason.
Treason? Interesting.
I did know Lord Darlington, and I can declare that he was a truly good man, a gentleman through and through, to whom I'm proud to have given my best years of service.
Okay.
Did you share his opinions?
Well, I was his butler. I was there to serve him, not to agree or disagree.
You trusted him?
Yes, I did, completely. But at the end of his life, his lordship himself admitted that he'd been mistaken, that he'd been too gullible and had let himself be taken in.
I mean, where do you stand on all that? If a mistake was to be made, wouldn't you rather have made your own?
See, in a very small way, I did make my own mistake. But I might still have a chance to set mine right. In fact, I'm on my way to try and do so now.
Okay. Now I have a thought. He said he's going to fix a mistake. And this film should be a romance, right? But now, over an hour in, there was no romance yet. And I think maybe that's what he's trying to fix. Maybe he let the love of his life go. And now he's after her? I mean, in a good way. Something like that maybe. But I don't know.
That business last year about the Jewish maids. I suppose there's no way of tracing them, is there?
Tracing them?
It was wrong what occurred. I'm sorry about it.
Of course I was upset, very much so. I don't like to see that sort of thing happening in this house.
Well, I wish you'd told me so at the time. It would have helped me a great deal if I'd known you felt the same way as I did. Why? Why, Mr. Stevens? Why do you always have to hide what you feel?
That's a good question. I mean, he can say his opinion in a polite way and still be a good butler, I would say.
Are you reading a racy book?
Do you think racy books are to be found on his lordship's shelves?
Yes. Is it my cup?
This is my private time. You're invading it.
Oh, is that so?
Yes.
What's in that book? Come on, let me see.
Oh, God.
Or are you protecting me? Is that what you're doing? Would I be shocked? Would it ruin my character? Let me see it. It's not scandalous at all. It's just a sentimental old love story.
Ah. And all this for that.
I really must ask you, please, not to disturb the few moments I have to myself.
Interesting.
I accepted Mr. Benn's proposal of marriage.
My congratulations.
I am prepared to serve out my notice, but if you were able to release me earlier, I would be grateful. Mr. Benn is planning to leave for the West Country in 2 weeks' time.
I'll do my best.
Am I to take it that after all the years I have been in this house, you have nothing else to say to me?
You have my warmest congratulations.
And I think that's what he considers his mistake.
How you pinch your nose when you put pepper on your food. That always has us in stitches.
Well, please, excuse me, Miss Kenton.
She's trying to get a reaction out of him.
Any idea what they're talking about in there?
I'm afraid not.
Tell me, Stevens, don't you care at all? I mean, aren't you in the least bit curious?
It is not my place to be curious about such matters.
And supposing I told you that his lordship is presently trying to persuade the Prime Minister to enter into a pact with that bunch of criminals in Berlin.
I'm certain his lordship is acting from the highest and noblest motives, sir.
But don't you see, that's exactly what makes it so abominable. That they should take these high and noble motives and twist them to their own foul ends.
His lordship is working to ensure peace in our time.
Yeah, peace in our time on their beastly terms, Stevens. You remember that American here at the conference 3 years ago called Lord Darlington an amateur? Out of his depth? He was right. He was dead right, Stevens.
Interesting. Seems like he follows his employer blindly, but just hopes for the best. And he's too much in his butler role. He doesn't say what's on his mind. He just say what he's supposed to say. That's not good. Not good for anybody.
Oh, damn!
And now he makes mistakes.
Miss Kenton, I've been wanting to tell you. It's the small alcove outside the breakfast room. It's the new girl, of course. But I find it has not been dusted in some time.
I'll see to it, Mr. Stevens.
Thank you. I knew you would have wanted to be informed, Miss Kenton.
Ice cold. But now he's on the way to fix his mistake.
If I take up any work, it will have to be here in the West Country, because you see, Catherine, our daughter, is expecting a baby. And so, of course, I would like to be near her.
How much time has passed?
You must try to do all you can to make these years happy ones for yourself and for your husband. We may never meet again, Mrs. Benn. That is why I'm permitting myself to be so personal, if you will forgive me.
After all that time, he still talks like a butler.
Bye.
Wow. And he lets her go the second time. had a hidden metaphor. The bird, they freed the bird. Now he's free. Then Stevens closed the door, remaining inside. Not free. Interesting. And that's it. That's it. Alright. Wow. Alright. I don't know what to say for now. But the film totally fits, the film's title totally fits the film's plot. The remains of the day. So what remained? Just broken pieces, I would say. Yeah, okay. I have to think about it, and I'll be back with the review. Alright, that was it. That was the remains of the day. What can I say? What a film. A masterclass in writing. The writing was so great. Also the acting, the directing, everything was just very well done. The whole production. Yeah, and story-wise, I mean, Anthony Hopkins portrayed the main character, Mr. Stevens, so well. And he was a butler through and through. But sometimes a little too much of a butler. He didn't talk about his feelings or even his opinions. Could have easily done it from my perspective. I don't know, because he's still a butler. Then he would be a butler with an opinion. So no wrongdoing in that. I don't know. Maybe it's just me. Maybe I missed something about his what he thinks makes a butler. I don't know. But yeah, that and that was so sad to see. And even, I mean, he felt something for, what was her name? Miss Kenton. But he couldn't express it, or he decided to not express it. And then she went on and married someone else. And he couldn't fix it in the end. That was so sad to see. In the scene where they waved goodbye. And you could see the regret in her face also. Not just in his face. So they both lost something. Yeah. Yeah, and I mean, back to his opinions, which he didn't told. I mean, he followed blindly his employer, even though he knew that his morals were flawed. And yeah, I don't know. He could have done so much more with his life. And all these conversations they had, these lords and politicians, was very interesting to hear all that different views. And the American, played by Christopher Reeve, he was actually right that it doesn't belong in the hands of amateurs. Yeah, and future Mr. Stevens, as he talked about his past, you can see that he knew what went wrong, but it was too late. He couldn't fix it. And that's what remained. Yeah, and I have to say that this was a bit confusing in the beginning, because it started in the 50s, then went back into the 30s, then sometime back again in the 50s. And it was very confusing, because in the opening monologue, it was narrated by Emma Thompson at first, and by Anthony Hopkins. And one of them said that Miss Kenton went to marry left to marry somebody, and yeah, that was related to the 30s, where the film mainly took place. That was a bit confusing. I thought she was married before and then came back, but no. Oh yeah, and what I also like about this film is that nothing was just black and white. It was always more complicated than that. Even Lord Darlington, who sympathized with the Nazi cause, also had regret. And Mr. Stevens said it so in the future, where he was talking to that one guy, that he really regretted in his end days. Yeah, and that's just human, right? And it was with every character. Everyone had something on their minds. Yeah. I don't know. This is what I liked about the writing itself. Yeah, as I said, the story was superb, beautifully written, based on the book by Kazuo Ishiguro, if I pronounced that correctly. Yeah, what else? The Oscars. Nominated for 8 Oscars. Let's take a look at that. Alright, 1994 Oscars. Best Picture nominee. Best Actor in a Leading Role, Anthony Hopkins. Best Actress in a Leading Role, Emma Thompson. Best Director. Best Writing. Art Direction, Costume, and Music. The music also did a pretty good job, I have to say. What year is it? To which film or films they lost? It was the year of Tom Hanks, Philadelphia. He won over Anthony Hopkins. It was, oh yeah, of course, the year of Schindler's List. And Jurassic Park. Jurassic Park was also 93, which is fascinating because Steven Spielberg did 2 films in 1 year. Or released the films in the same year. But that's impressive, and both Oscar contenders. Yeah, Schindler's List won everything, I think. So no chance. But not the acting. Schindler's List. Liam Neeson didn't win, and Ralph Fiennes didn't win. Interesting. Holly Hunter won over Emma Thompson. And Emma Thompson was also nominated for Best Supporting Actress in The Name of the Father, which is also a very great film. I've seen that. That was fantastic. Steven Spielberg won Best Director for Schindler's List. No surprise. Jurassic Park Best Effects. And of course, Schindler's List won Best Original Score. And Best Picture, Schindler's List. Only 5 contenders for Best Picture. Best Adapted Screenplay, Schindler's List. Of course. Yeah, and that's it. Okay. Alright. Interesting. So it had no chance to win anything. Oh yeah, I forgot to say goodbye. So here we go. Bye bye.